The amount of information in these books is well worth what they cost. I have a bunch of other oil painting books, but these two by far, especially for beginners, are must-haves. Hi, welcome to Paint Talk, the weekly show where I answer your questions on oil painting. Let's get going. Let's get going. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Chris Fornatero, and I'm here to help simplify oil painting so you can get better faster. If you're looking for full real-time painting video tutorials, I do offer those, but they are on my Patreon page, which is linked in the description below. And if you want to see what I paint on a daily basis, you can follow me on Instagram at Forza43. Now, you've probably noticed that I just changed up the setup from the first shot of my video to this shot. This is so you don't get bored. I'm going to keep rotating out different backgrounds throughout this video, and I want you guys to comment in the comment section to which background was your favorite. All right, let's get to the questions. All right, our first question comes from May Suzanne. It says, how do you dispose the used paint thinner? That's a great question. Actually, I don't really ever dispose of used paint thinner. I reuse my paint thinner. Say you have a jar of dirty paint thinner. Set that jar aside, let it sit for a couple days. All the sediment and all the gross stuff in that jar will settle to the bottom and you'll be left with clean paint thinner. So then you can take that jar and just pour off the top layer of clean paint thinner into a new jar. I always kind of recommend having 3 jars going at a time. You know, you have one jar that you're using while you're painting. You have another jar that has paint thinner that's, you know, setting and you need a day or two for all the sediment to collect at the bottom. And then you have a third jar that you can pour in the paint that you're using right now for your painting into, so that can set, and it's just a rotation of jars. So this way you don't really ever have to throw out paint thinner. I actually have no idea the technical way to do that since I don't ever do it. I do know though, don't ever put it down a drain. That's the one thing I do know. When I took a painting class in college, I just remember they had this industrial gas tank looking thing that you poured your paint thinner into. As far as disposing of the like paper towels or anything like that with paint thinner on it, again, I'm sure there's some very specific, safe, technical way to do that. I don't do that. I wasn't taught that. We didn't do that in art school. I've heard that people talk about, you know, hazardous waste doing that. I just throw it in with the rest of the garbage. That might be wrong. I don't know. If you do know, comment in the comments section. But when I was in art school, that's what we did. So that's what I know. All right, our next question comes from Sophia Harvey. It says, hi, would you recommend oil painting for someone who's completely new to oil painting? A lot of videos I've watched are people who have moved from acrylic to oils. That's a good question. And I would just say, just go right into the oils. You know, there are some pros and cons. I mean, oils are a little more expensive than acrylics or watercolors. So as you're learning, you know, it's going to be a little more expensive for you to learn. But oil paints these days are priced so reasonably. The price difference isn't that big. And some benefits is you won't build any bad habits with acrylics and watercolors. A lot of people that start out with acrylic and watercolors, they carry a lot of their habits, a lot of their bad habits into oil painting, like wanting the paint to dry really fast. You know, acrylics and watercolors dry really fast, so they get to oils and they want their oils to dry really fast, so they get mediums that are fast drying and they try and use those because they want to speed it up. And they kind of should be doing the opposite. They should be leaning into what makes oil paints different, which is the slow dry time. Just in general, when it comes to learning something, I like to just jump on in. You know, you're gonna mess up, you're gonna make some bad paintings, you're gonna waste some time, you're gonna waste some money. It's just part of it. But it's a lot better jumping in and doing a bunch of things wrong than never jumping in at all. And I could see somebody being hesitant and then saying, oh, I'll go to acrylics and watercolors first and then I'll go to oils. And what I think will happen 99% of the time with people is they'll never make it to oils. They'll go to acrylics and they'll just never feel ready for oils. You know, they'll put it up on this pedestal and it'll be this scary thing and they'll never get to it. You know, they'll be intimidated, or they'll get comfortable with acrylics and watercolors. And once you get comfortable, then it's going to be even harder to go to oils, because it's like, oh, well, I'm just now getting the hang of acrylics and watercolors and I'm doing good paintings. I don't have to go start over with this whole different medium. So Start with oils. You know, don't buy expensive stuff. You know, buy cheap paint. Get a canvas pad, like a Frederick's canvas pad, a big one to, you know, practice on, do sketches on, and just have fun. You know, don't worry about what people are saying. For the longest time, like you know, all through high school, I never did oils. I did watercolors and acrylics because, like, I listened to what people say, like, oh, it's harder, you know, you got paint thinner and medium, it's a complex process. But once I actually did it when I was 17, I was like, wait, this is simple. Like, why are people making such a big deal out of this? Like, why do so many artists think that oils are so much more complicated? And that's actually a big reason why I created this YouTube channel, is because nobody was really simplifying oil painting. It doesn't need to be complicated. I mean, you can make it complicated, and as you progress and have years and years under your belt, your process can get more complicated and detailed. But if you're just starting out, keep it simple, you know? So that's the answer to that question. All right, our next question comes from Sparkplug3055. Says, do you know any good books on oil painting? For example, a general get to know oil painting book, techniques, etc. Thanks for the wonderful videos. Yes, I do. And I've actually shared this book a couple times, I don't know, maybe only one time on my channel before. It's two books that I have. They're both from Kevin McPherson, a great painter. No, I don't know him. And the first book is Oil Painting with Light and Color. I highly recommend this book. It is a great book. It talks about, you know, basic materials, basic setup. It gets into color theory, color harmony. He has examples of good exercises. It has a lot of great photographs of his work. It has a lot of great progress photos of his work showing his different stages with explanation of each stage. Like, this is the book that I went to the most when I first started to learn how to oil paint. Now, the other book is Landscape Painting Inside and Out. And this one focuses a little more on landscape. They both are pretty landscape heavy, especially Landscape Painting Inside and Out. But a lot of what you can get from this applies to any subject matter. Just seeing the way he breaks things down stage by stage, seeing the big shapes, seeing the big colors, the big values, you know, taking a complex scene a lot of people would get lost in, and just being able to simplify it and break it down. And the visuals he uses, the photos, I don't know, it helped me a lot just seeing it. I'm a very visual learner, so when I saw the pictures in this book and the descriptions, it really helped me understand a healthy process for developing a painting, especially a landscape. I mean, he goes through everything from start to finish. He goes through what materials to use, all the way up until framing the painting and varnishing it and everything in between. So really great books. I put Amazon links in the description of this video to where you can get both of these books. The amount of information in these books is well worth what they cost. I have a bunch of other oil painting books, but these two by far, especially for beginners, are must-haves. All right, our next question comes from Miriam Devenu. It says, how do you clean your brushes and keep them so soft? Well, I don't really clean my brushes per se, because I paint every single day, so I don't need to clean them with soap and water or brush cleaner every day. Instead, I clean them best I can with my paint thinner, wipe them off on a paper towel, and then dip them in brush dip. And if you've seen any of the videos from the Draw Mix Paint guy, no, I don't get any money from him. He doesn't even know that I promote his stuff. I'm promoting it because it's good. It's good stuff. The brush dip, I'll put a link to where you can get the brush dip. Last I checked, I think he was sold out. I don't know if the pandemic had anything to do with his inventory, but I heard some people were having trouble getting this brush dip. But if you can get it, it is definitely worth it. I've recommended it to my students, and they love it too. Hold on, we have an airplane. So the brush dip is so slow drying that you can dip your brushes in it, and it keeps the paint on the brushes. Any paint that's stuck inside deep in the bristles that would ruin it if it dried out, it's going to keep that wet for, seems like, over a week. It can work. I paint pretty much every day, or at least every other day, and it keeps my brushes nice, wet, and soft until, you know, I paint again, and that's all I need. And I highly suggest people do that, because the more you do wash your brushes with soap and water, you know, some of these brush cleaners, it does take a toll on the bristles of the brush. But I understand everybody doesn't paint every day, but still, you know, even if you're painting once a week, this brush dip can be a huge help. So I highly recommend doing that to keep your brushes nice, clean, and soft, and ready to paint whenever you want. All right, that concludes this week's episode of Paint Talk. If you want your questions answered, leave them in the comments section of this video. I just might answer them on next week's Paint Talk. If you are looking looking for full painting video tutorials, I do offer those, but they're on my Patreon page, which is linked in the description below. And if you want to see what I'm painting on a daily basis, you can follow me on Instagram at Forza43. I'm Chris Fornataro here telling you to go get painting. Whoa, you're still here. You made it to the end of the video. That must mean you really like it. In that case, you should hit the subscribe button. You'd also probably like this video too. And this video. Please pick one. All right, this is getting awkward.